What's going on, everybody, and welcome to day 18 of our Juniper Networking series. In today's video, we will be configuring IBGP. IBGP is an internal gateway protocol, or IGP, and it is used to share routing information within our autonomous system. We looked at IBGP earlier on in this series, and of course, that protocol is used to share routing information between two different routers that are within two different autonomous systems. So that is the difference between IBGP and eBGP. IBGP is ran within an autonomous system, and eBGP is ran between two different autonomous systems. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into our configuration. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into our initial configuration and configure the GE000 and GE001 interfaces on this switch. So let's do an edit, and let's do a set interfaces GE000, unit 0, family, INET, address. We want to configure the 192.168.1.1/24. IP address on this interface, and then let's do a set. I can just do it up, and I want to do the GE001, and I want to set its address to be 2.1/24, and let's do a commit and quit. Alright, that commit was successful. Let's hop onto our bottom switch and do a similar configuration, but configure its address to be 192.168.1.2/24 on the GE000 interface. Alright, we're on our bottom switch. Let's do an edit, and let's do a set interfaces GE000, unit 0, family, INET, address. We want to put it on the 192.168.1.2/24, and let's do a commit and quit. Alright, so that commit was successful. Now let's do a ping to 192.168.1.1 to make sure we can ping that top switch. And I don't know why I just did that, because I haven't made the physical connections. So let's do that first and then rerun this command. We made those physical connections now, so let's rerun that command. Let's do a CLI. Let's do a ping to 192.168.1.1. And now we are able to ping our top switch. So now let's go ahead and get into our IBGP configuration. So real quick, before we get into the IBGP config, I put the IP address of .2 on this computer. I configured a /24-bit subnet mask, the .1 address that we configured on the switch as the router. And then I went on ahead and plugged it into our switch now. So let's hop into the configuration. All right, so it's still plugged into the bottom switch, so we're going to configure that one first. So let's do a CLI, and let's do an edit, and let's do a set protocols, BGP group. And I'm going to name this BGP group IBGP, and we want to set the type first to internal because we're using IBGP, okay? The next thing we want to do is set our neighbor. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do a set protocols BGP group. Let's do IBGP because that is the group that we just configured. And let's do a neighbor address of 192.168.1.1 because that is the top switch IP address that we configured. Say enter there. Let's go ahead and set our local address. Let's do a set protocols BGP group. Let's do IBGP neighbor. I said neighbor. IBGP local address. Sorry about that. And let's do 192.168.1.2 because that is the IP address that we configured on the GE000 interface. Let's hit enter there. And let's set our autonomous system number as well. So let's do a set routing options, autonomous system, routing options, autonomous system. And we want to set the autonomous system to 100. And let's do a commit and quit. Commit and quit. All right, so now that commit was successful. Let's plug into our top switch and do a similar configuration over there. All right, so now we're over on our top switch. Let's do an edit, and let's do a set protocols BGP group, and we want to name it IBGP as well. And let's first set it to IBGP. So let's do the type as internal. Now let's go ahead and set our local address. So let's do a set protocols BGP group IBGP, and let's do the local address of 192.168.168.1.1. Let's set our neighbor. Let's do a set protocols BGP group IBGP, and we want to set our neighbor to be 192.168.1.2. And lastly, let's go ahead and configure we need to configure our autonomous system. So let's do a set routing options autonomous system, and we want to configure it to be in the autonomous system of 100 as well. And let's do a commit and quit. So I went on ahead and plugged back into my bottom switch, and let's do some run commands to see if we are able to see the .2 network, and let's see our BGP information as well. So let's do a show BGP neighbor, and we can see that we are in an established state with our neighbor. Our local address is 192.168.1.2. That is the IP that we configured on the bottom switch, and we can see its peer, which is 192.168.1.1. So that is some good information. We can see that our last state that we were in was the open confirmed state, but right now we're in the established state. So that is what we want. We can see a lot more information in here as well, but I just wanted to point out that we are in the established state. So let's check our routing table. Let's see if we're able to see the .2 route. So let's do a show route. And for some reason, we are not able to see the .2 network. Well, that is because we have not configured the routing policy. So we need to configure a routing policy on the top switch for it to advertise the .2 network down to the bottom switch. And then we're going to rerun this show route command after we do that and see if we're able to see that .2 network. So let's go ahead and hop back onto our top switch and configure our policy statement. All right, so we're back on the top switch now. So let's do an edit, and let's do a set policy option, policy statement, and I want to name it send let's just do send BGP, or let's do IBGP, send IBGP, and we want to do a term 1 from protocols, and we want to send the directly connected route. All right, and now let's hit the up arrow and go back to right before the term, and let's do a then accept. Okay, and now we want to apply this policy that we just created inside of our BGP protocol. So let's do a set protocol BGP group, and we want to apply it to the IBGP group, and we want to put it as an export policy, and we want to put IBGP because that is the policy statement that we just configured. Let's hit enter there, and let's do a commit and quit. So now let's move back to our bottom switch. That commit was successful, and see if we are able to see this route now. Let's rerun that command. Let's do a show route. Are we able to see it? Let me make sure my computer is on and operating, sending data. And yes, we are able to see the 192.168.2.0/24 network now. We can see that it's advertised through BGP. We can see our preference of 170. So that looks good. So if I do a ping, let's just try to ping that PC. Let's do a ping to 192.168.2.2. That is the PC's IP address, and we are able to ping that PC. So let's do a couple more show commands. Let's do a show BGP summary. Let's see what we can see here. We can see our peer IP address. We can see the autonomous system number. We are running IBGP, so both of these routers, or layer 3 switches, I should say, are operating in the autonomous system of 100 because we're doing IBGP. We can see the input packets that we have received from our neighbor, the output packets that we sent out to our neighbor. So we can see a lot of information. We can see if our interface was flapping or not. Let's do a show BGP group detail, And this is another command I like to run. Right here, we can see that our group is internal. So we're running IBGP. We can see our autonomous system number as well. We can see the name of the BGP group. We named it IBGP. We can see the hold time. We can see the number of peers that we are peered with. We can see that we are in the established state. So a lot of information in here. We can see the active preferences that are being sent from BGP, the received preferences. So we can see a lot of information when running different show commands for BGP. But that is going to be it for this video. We can make some more BGP videos in the future. I appreciate you tuning in to day 18 of our Juniper Networking series. Hope to see you in day 19. But until then, peace out.